Hi, everybody. I'm Shelley Harper. I'm one of the librarians at TED. So we're going to talk about the Digital Public Library of America, about which I'm guessing none of you have heard before. All right, good, Jennifer. So this is what the web page looks like, and Matt, we ran out of handouts, so you get to be without a handout.
I am good. But I have also been here. I just didn't need the acronyms. I've been here.
Okay, good. So it's got the URL for you. This is freely available on the web, and it's just dp.la. And that's how you get here. And this is what it looks like. And this is actually a really sophisticated portal. Come on in. Hi. A sophisticated portal for digital resources. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use it. I think I can let you have, we're out of handouts, but you can have one.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right. So this portal got started in about 2010. It was a project that the Library of Congress, the Internet Archive, and the Happy Trust all contributed to. And now it's run by a board and a director and a staff of librarians and technologists. And it's actually registered as a library in Massachusetts. So it is a real live library, but it focuses on digital resources, as you can kind of see from this. So I wanted to just point out a little bit about some of the things that you can take a look at with this. So they've got prepackaged exhibitions of digital documents and videos and images. Whoops. And then you can explore by exhibition, by date. You can do a search, which I think is the easiest way to do actually to navigate around this site. And I'm going to show you some tips on that in a minute. But you can also go by timeline, which is the same thing as this explore by date. And you can explore by map as well. So it just depends a lot on how you want to access the information. And really quickly, I just wanted to point out that this is also open source code for those of you interested in that, and it is an API development platform. So interesting people have come along and created some apps that you can actually download. So if you wanted to take a look at the DPLA and only search for images, you could click on this app, and that would do that. I wanted to go to the app library just for a second and show you some of the things that they've done. Oh, by the way, you can get to the app library from right here as well on any page of the DPLA. So there are some really interesting things that people have put together here. And one of them that I wanted to point out to you because I just think it's weirdly cool is this guy right here. With color browse, you can search the DPLA by color. So if you wanted to find all of the shades and hues, as this says, of orange, for instance, of any of the digital resources that are basically orange in color, you can use this useful app to do that. So pretty much whatever kind of app you're interested in that's probably gotten started in this library. And there's some in here as well that are maybe a little bit less cool, but probably more useful. And that one is, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. This is called let's see, I'm not sure I'm going to do justice to this, the Wiki DPLA. So if you have this, you can go from Wiki to the DPLA digital resources and back and forth. It's a connection, like a bridge between the two different programs. So yeah, so there's some interesting things in the app world, and you can develop apps yourself if you would like to. But let's go back to the home page where we can kind of play around with this a little bit. So as I said, if you wanted to search for something, I think the search box is the easiest way to go. And do you guys, any of you have a topic that you're interested in that you want to try and see if there's anything available?
As in
Anything.
molybdenum.
Oh,
Let's do Jim Bridger.
I can spell Jim Bridger much more than I
Jim
can
Bridger
spell.
was an explorer that a pass is named after in Montana.
Montana.
Yeah. Bridger Bowl, great ski place. I've skied
As
there
in
before.
Jim Bridger like this?
Mhm.
Cool. Someday you're going to have to tell me how to spell that, Weston, because you've used that as an example with me before.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the result page, and one reason why I like this is because you can narrow things down. This is just a list of different resources. So this is 54 pages of photocopied articles concerning Jim Bridger from the Kansas City Public Library. Here's an image of Jim Bridger done by John Colton in 1859. Let's see if we can get that a little bigger. From the Utah. Well, that's helpful.
But I feel like metadata.
There was an app that was just
Scroll down. You got it.
There we go.
That's high quality.
There's Jim.
He looks like Clint Eastwood.
He kind of does, doesn't he?
Like Clint Eastwood.
So you'll notice that this took us from the DPLA website to the actual library, Uinta County, Utah library that this is from. So DPLA really serves as a portal, as a one-stop shop for you to search, and then it will be kind of the seamless bridge to the other libraries, museums, and archives that produce or make available the material that you want to look at. So once you click through a couple of times, you might find that you've left the DPLA site to go to the original library site.
So that's how they had that collection with Winnie the Pooh on the front, because that was the New York Public Library collection.
Yep.
Just libraries in the United States or worldwide?
United States. Yeah. Although that doesn't mean that you can't get different materials that are outside of the United States. So I'm a graduate of the library school from UT Austin, and they have some great resources on that campus, and one of them is the Harry Ransom Center. And he was rich with oil money, so many decades ago, and he went around and bought up all the papers of really famous authors, like Lewis Carroll, for instance. He was particularly interested in England and Wales, so all of the researchers about how that wonderful literature was created had to come to Austin from England or from Wales to go get the original archive of papers, and so they were not happy with Harry.
Boston's okay.
I think it sounds like the far wilds to someone in England. All right, so we can go back to the result page. I'm just going to back up one. And you can narrow down by subject, by location, by language, and by contributing institution. That's who actually holds the resource. Or by what they call as a partner. And I am a little fuzzy on what a partner actually means, but I think that's someone who works with the Digital Public Library of America to create the back end of the technology to make all of this seamless clicking work. So, and you can also narrow down by type, which is helpful, and by date. Sometimes language is on there as well. And as far as I know, the date is the publication date of the item or the creation date of the item, not the date of the event that you might be interested in. All right, so that's an example of the search. You can also take this search and look at it via map, which I believe shows where the different holdings are. And the number is how many holdings. So in Utah, there's 18. And I believe that's Wyoming, there's 54, which makes sense. And by timeline, although he might be, well, I guess you could get a variety of times. If there was a peak named after him, you might get primary documents about how that legislation happened to name a peak after him, as well as whatever was going on with him in his lifetime. All right. So that's searching, and that's a useful way to do this. I found the Explore by date a little bit confusing, but definitely you may be better at doing this than I am. So they've got a timeline, and you can take a look at resources from 1960. You can look at resources from 1100, but they don't have any, which is one thing that I found confusing, or 1000. So you can play with this a little bit. You can play by subject, and it may work better for you than it did for me. Definitely they have a multitude of ways to access information, so it will hopefully match whatever style you like the best. And then one thing I wanted to point out was a couple of prepackaged ways to look at this information. One of them is exhibitions, which we'll take a look at in just a second. And then the other one you can find under education, and these are primary source sets, which could be useful for teaching. Some of them are designed for K through 12, some of them are designed for higher ed. But just as someone who was playing around with the interesting aspects of the DPLA, I found this was a really good way to look at a collection of resources about a certain topic as well. So, So we have a lot of different things, United Farm Workers, Huckleberry Finn, busing, 15th Amendment, and Maya Angelou. Which one would you guys like to see as an example?
Something.
Alrighty. So each primary source set comes with some explanation, an introduction, and a teaching guide, and then the list of the different primary sources that you can take a look at. So for Huck Finn, we've got some lithographs, some documents, and a reward for a runaway slave poster from Missouri in the mid-1800s. So I can see this would be very useful for teaching, but for me, just as an explorer of knowledge, I find it interesting as well. So do you guys have questions about how the primary sets work? What are some of your potential uses for DPLA? What are you interested in, just for personal exploration or for work, or where's everybody at?
I've used it more, this and just clicking around, like a lot of it's where it link out to, or for personal. So like when I do like a big backcountry trip or something like that, just, you know, I like to connect to the landscape or connect to where I'm going. So looking at like original settlement documents or things like that, and seeing if I can go and find and create some of these experiences. So I connect to it that way more than I do for work. Although I have done this a lot for work when I've not worked with the natural scientists, more with the social scientists and the humanities. So it really has been with the types of exposure I've had with researchers that has limited my ability to push this out. But personally, I love these types of resources because it's I don't like using the word one-stop shopping.
I've avoided that so far.
It sure makes it easy.
It's definitely easier to find government documents like, what was it that you said a minute ago, landscape, or that you were looking
I blacked out.
Okay. Well, legislation to name a peak after Jim Bridger, for one, it would be much easier to find it if it was linked through DPLA.
I think I was saying settlement records.
That's it. Settlement, yeah. Anybody else? What might you use it for? Yeah, Weston.
My family, we just love having access to libraries. When my sister was at UC Davis, she would email me, and I was her personal interlibrary loan or prospector, or no, interlibrary loan, because sometimes CC would have access to articles that she wouldn't have at her big research university. So there's that kind of thing, but also we're a homeschooling family, and so yesterday my daughter finished her paper on the sextant as a technological advancement, so we could have gone on here and probably found all sorts.
Probably, yeah. Anybody else want to?
This stuff is my jam. I look at it for, this is like my reading about the Hemmingses of Monticello for fun. So I like looking at this stuff, and I can use it for the research I do too, but I'm actually excited about this one because my daughter's about to start reading Huckleberry Finn, so.
Oh, that's why you wanted to do it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is one prepackaged set. These are the primary source documents, and they're set up, their structure is a little bit different than the other, which is the exhibitions. So I'm going to go back to the home page just so you can see where I'm going. I've been getting to the exhibitions from here, but you can do it from this header on any page as well. So the exhibitions look kind of similar at the beginning, but the way that it looks once you click through is a little bit different. They have a huge list of exhibitions, and as I was going through these just to kind of look around, I thought, oh, I'll look at that, but I want to see what else is here, so I'll come back. Oh, wait, no, I want to look at this, but I want to see what else is here. So I was having a good time looking at all of these. But are any of these popping out at anybody that you would like to use as an example? Yes?
The maps one?
Absolutely. Colonialism to tourism, maps in American culture. So the way these work, the exhibitions, they do have some introductory information. The teaching guide is missing. Kind of makes sense. They have a citation, they have credits, and then they've got sections that you can take a look at. Well, I'll click to that in just a second. And the librarian in me is so happy to see the citation. I can't help myself, but there you go. So you can take a look at these in order, or you can jump around. So Matt, what do you want to do?
Well, one of the reasons why I like to click on this is David Rumsey is one of my all-time favorite online kind of library of historic maps and documents. One of the things that I do like about this, and I've done this a little bit in teaching geography and whatnot, but I clicked on the Depicting Fractured Society. Because whenever you're talking about all these historic maps, unless you are going and working with the library and actually have the map in front of you, this is a full resolution image that you can zoom in to almost maximum detail. So, like I'm just doing what, like just clicking in, and it may fight me. You may actually have to get out to Rumsey to do it a little bit more.
For the first thing I usually do is toggle it as a full page.
That'll do it too.
And then you can narrow down again more to be able to see it. If you have old eyes like mine, this is really helpful.
But on the Rumsey one, the resolution is so good that when you're talking geography and you're talking like progression of people across the West over time, you can see the different perspectives of how people were interpreting what was going on. And so this one's probably a little bit more cartographically accurate, but I love the pictogram ones or the more cartoony ones, because that's a cultural connection to the mindsets and all that type of stuff going on. So when you think of a map, this may be more like geographically accurate, but what's more interesting when you're talking about history is all the things on the side, or the more cartoony representations of regions and people. It was just a unique way for communication to happen that we just kind of lost over time. And the only place to find a lot of this stuff is like at David Rumsey and that type of stuff. So what I like about this a whole lot better, Rumsey is hard to navigate. It is. I'm not sure if you've been to it, but it's
been a while.
It's awful. But what I'm seeing here is it's a lot easier to get quick information topically, with citations and all that type of stuff.
This is, I'm sure you noticed, from the David Rumsey collection, more information links, so you can link out to that directly if you want to do that. So I really like the connectedness of all the links that you can get to with this. Questions about the exhibitions? Some of them will have pages that you go through, and different things on each page you can click through. So it just kind of depends on the topic and how it's set up. The Ellis Island one, I believe, has several different pages that you end up looking at. It clicks out to an Ellis Island one, and then that has the page set up that's a little bit different than this. All right. So one thing that I wanted to do, and it's on your handouts for those of you that got one. And Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Nope.
So I wanted to give you guys some search tips for using the search box. We talked a little bit about narrowing this down by using the search results page and the things on the left-hand side that you can click on to narrow it down. But I had some search tips. So if I wanted to search for Library of Congress, I'm going to get a much more efficient search if I put that in quotation marks, because that means it's going to search for this as a phrase, those three words together in that order. Without quotation marks, it's going to search for everything that can be described by library and everything that can be described by Congress, which is a scary amount of material that you probably would like to kind of not have to sort through. So putting something in a phrase will make it a little bit more efficient. And that can work for anything that's more than one word long. So that was one. And then how many of you all are familiar with Boolean operators? A couple of people are. It sounds like this really sort of intimidating Boolean operators, but actually it's named after George Boole, so that's why it's called that. He was a mathematician from England. England? I think so. Anyway, what it lets you do is combine ideas, and so there's a link on your handout to some Boolean operator help, and I didn't give that to myself, so I'm just going to do a quick search, and hopefully it will come up with the same thing. Okay, this doesn't have the pictures that usually go with this, but we're going to use this anyway. So and, or, and not are the main Boolean operators. So if I was going to do a search that said librarian and history and women, what I'm going to get back is everything that can be described by those three terms, and each of those terms has to be present for me to get a hit in my result list. So what and does is it combines ideas, and it narrows down your search, because all three have to be present. It's going to give me fewer resources than if I just only had to have one present. So it's a way to combine ideas. And the DPLA and Google and a lot of search engines assume these days that you mean and, unless you type in something else. So a lot of times you don't have to type in and, but just wanted to let you guys know what that means. Or is the opposite. It's going to broaden out your search, because what you're saying is librarian or history or women. Bring me back in my result list anything that can be described by any one of those terms. They can all be present 2, 3, 1. Doesn't matter, as long as one of those terms can describe the document or the web page. Put it in my result list, and so you're going to get more results with an or. And then not, you have to be kind of careful with, because it excludes things. So if I did cats, not dogs, I'm not going to get anything that's about dogs, but I'm also not going to get anything that's about cats that also mentions dogs. So it's going to pull some things out of your result list that you may not intend to, so you have to be kind of careful with the not. But it can be really helpful using those when you're just faced with the search box, like with Digital Public Library. So I could do Library of Congress as a phrase, and if you want to group some words together, you can put them in parentheses. So I could do books or images. And what I'm telling the search engine to do is bring me back anything that can be described by the phrase Library of Congress and one or both of the words books or images. So you can develop some fairly sophisticated searches using those Boolean connectors. And if you want more help with this, under their help, searching DPLA, it's got some ideas about different ways that you can search, and then a reminder about what the different Boolean operators mean as well. Questions about that? That's kind of a whirlwind tour of Boolean operators, but they can really make your searching much more sophisticated. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is the wonderful asterisk, because that will stand for one or more characters. So My favorite example for that is if I did the STEM word LIBR, then I can get library, librarians, libraries, all of the different kinds of endings that go with that word with only having to do one search by just doing LIBR asterisk. And it'll bring up all of those endings for me. It's also good if you're not sure if it's going to be a British or American spelling. So you could do COL asterisk R and get the American spelling with just the O, or the British spelling with the OU. Both of those will come up in the search that you use that with. Yes?
I'm realizing I have to leave because I thought this was the Canva workshop.
Yes.
I think it was misadvertised. But I'm not leaving because I'm not interested. But I'm going to head out.
Bowling
But
operators are fun.
this sounds so cool, and I never learned that before. So thank
So
you
there
so
you
much.
go. So have a piece of chocolate before you go.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Have a great rest of your presentation.
You too. Of your day. All right, so questions about help with searching about DPLA. I like to do genealogy research, and it's fun to get in here and see if you can find images for eras of, women's dress, 1920, something like that, or to search for. I've been doing some research because I have ancestors that, speaking of mines, were in the mines in California, and was searching around for information about the history of mines in California. And within the DPLA itself, I didn't get a lot, but it hooked me out to some places that then I got lost in for an hour trying to find sources. So it can definitely be a bridge out to some other ways to find information. Okay, I think that's all I have to regale you with. We do have some chocolate down here and a couple of, I think these are the stylus and pen combo, if anyone would like one. Thanks.